The proof is in the pudding, and the pudding in this case is a football. Boom! Eat my goal! The goalie has got football pie all over his shirt.
Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. On this episode, I am joined by a literary genius, the guy behind From Aways. It's like a blog on the Wanderers. There was a podcast at one stage too. Gary Griffiths, welcome to the show. You haven't been on the show yet. It's kind of weird that I've been doing this 2.5 years, buddy. I've never had you on before. So welcome to the show.
I know, mate. I've been batting my eyelids at you all this time to come on the show. You've never invited me. So one day, if I keep aggressively flirting, eventually you'll let me on. But
it worked. It finally worked, man. I perseverance. That's all it's all about. The season kicks off on Thursday. We're playing first against York away, which is kind of, I already have the dreads because we're so poor away from home. But I just thought it'd be a good time to kind of check in with the squad, see what we think, maybe get a prediction or two out of you, and we'll take from there. So the first thing I kind of wanted to look at was the new guys we've brought in, what your thoughts are on them, and where do you think they're going to get game time, and like where do you kind of see them slotting in? So I thought the first guy we could kind of take a look at would be Mohammed Almir, because obviously there was a lot of hype around him because he was an MLS Super Draft pick for the Rapids. Obviously that didn't work because the MLS changes to international slots for Canadians and all that kind of good stuff. So what type of player is he, and where do you kind of see him fitting into the squad?
I think that's the big question with him, isn't it? Where does he fit into the squad? Because he was in the NCAA with Notre Dame the past few years, and I think he won personal accolades. They won championships, and he got drafted on the back of being a centre midfielder. He's kind of he's a six, but when you think of a six, you think of someone really defensive. But he's a bit more of a playmaker. He likes to have the game in front of him. He likes to spray passes about. He's very left-footed, but not in a way that's a detriment to him, really. So he's really good in that role, and he's really like punchy in the tackle as well. Like if you see him in one-on-ones and duels, he really like attacks the ball with intensity, but not in a way where he'll ever get sent off or it's too aggressive. So I like him as a midfielder because that's most of the tape I've seen of him has been him as a midfielder. But I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if we use him as a centre-back. I think a lot of the time, I don't know if you agree, but centre of the park is probably the most difficult position to play, especially for a young player, because you need so much experience and guile to play there. And I don't know whether Stephen Hart will look at him and go, maybe you're not quite ready for that yet. Maybe at centre back where you get a bit more time on the ball when we're building out from the back, that might be the better position for him because he's really tall as well. So
yeah, I noticed that the other night when I went to the kit reveal, he kind of stood head and shoulders above a lot of them, probably apart from Peter. I
think he's bigger than Basket as well. He's a big boy.
It was crazy. Like just he really stood out, and like he's got like an afro too, so that kind of gives him that extra couple of height too, a bit of height too. So yeah, he's a big
only
lad.
5'2", really, isn't he?
Yeah. Wait, but like me, I kind of agree with you. I also think that we have so many central midfielders. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be very difficult for him to start almost ahead of like Rampersad, Polisi, like guys who have kind of done it and proved that they can play there. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be difficult for him to displace. And we've obviously lost James Jeffard. So we got like looking at the squad the other night when I was on stage, like, you know, if Peter gets injured, like who do we actually have that's that kind of big hulking defender to come in? You know what I mean? Like I know like Restrepo was kind of filled in there and that, but he's just like he's not imposing, you know. So
you need Charlotte +1, don't you? Or Omar +1, a big player +1.
So have you seen him play in central defense, or like has he?
No, I know he was there in the TFC academy and he played there for Canada under 20 as well. But I've never actually seen him play there. But you can kind of see how the things he's good at can transfer to central defence pretty well, I think.
It was such a big big coup for the club to get him in the first place, you know, considering that he'd been picked by Colorado and stuff like that. Like, so, like, if you're him, what do you think is his motivation to come to the CPL? Because I mean, like, the problem I find about an awful lot of young, like, having talked to them on the show and stuff like that, is that it's in their head is their perception of where they are in life, you know what I mean? And it's like the CPL is obviously a drop down from the MLS. So what do you think is his goal, like, of dropping down into the CPL?
I think he was made to feel wanted. I think Matt Fagan and Derek Martin and Stephen Hart, they let him know quite early on that they wanted him, and that's quite appealing to a player, isn't it? Especially coming off the back of a trial that didn't quite work out. I wonder, I've no idea, but I wonder if they've told him what they envisage his role in the team being, and if that played a part in it as well. I think there's a pathway now for CPL players to move to the MLS. All he needs is one good season, and he's already been close enough with the trial with Rapids to know that he's nearly there, and one good season could swing it for him.
I actually think that's one of the biggest advertisements for the league right now, is like looking at Lucas McNaughton and Joel Waterman, like playing, and Caden Chung, like playing games. Like, they're not just going as squad members, they're actually going and starting games. Like, McNaughton looks like he's played MLS football his entire career. He's been incredible at TFC. So I definitely think that's probably a big plus for the league itself. And I think that like, you know, you're playing NCAA, like, obviously Notre Dame is a big college, but I mean, like, coming to Halifax with the crowd, I think that we underestimate sometimes, like, how much that actually sells to players. Like, the crowds, like, all you need to do is show them a video, and then show them a video of York, and I'm sure it'll be like, okay, I'm going to go to Halifax.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I always find it funny when you see players like sign for Edmonton or York, and they're like, oh yeah, the fans played a big role in signing. And you're like, no, you didn't. Stop it. I feel like, honestly, I think every single CPL player is contractually obliged to pretend that the fans played a big role in them signing.
I think that's a Premier League thing as well, because every player that signs for a Premier League team has said that they've been big fans since they were kids.
Robbie Keane, Robbie Keane. Like, yeah.
Richarlison saying that he's loved Everton since he was a kid. So
did he?
Yeah.
Big Peter Reid fan, big Tony Potty fan.
Oh my God, it's like Brazil, like they're everybody in Brazil is huge David Unsworth fans. Well,
that's where Roberto Carlos learned everything.
So one that kind of came out of left field, which I think had people kind of wondering, because I don't think we've actually, like, anybody's heard of him, and which is terrible to say, and I don't mean it in any disrespect whatsoever, is Obeng Tabi. Like, we obviously needed a left back who was left-footed, because we've kind of, like, for the last 2 years almost I think since Alex DeCarlo, so we've kind of been struggling in that area, where we're just kind of putting right-footed players there to try and hope that they can get a job, and it just doesn't. It never sits right. I think like, especially in the wing-back position, I think you really do need to have a left-footed player there. So what can you kind of tell us about him, and do you expect him to be a starter straight out the gate?
Like, firstly, I completely agree with you. I really want a left-footed player at left back. I don't like right-footed players at left back at all. I feel like if you've got a right-footed player at left back, you completely close off an angle on the pitch, because naturally they kind of touch it inside, and then they like to see the center of the pitch open up in front of them. Whereas a left-footed player, they tend to head down the wing, which will allow our left-sided attacker to move inside, and kind of the angle's a lot better. So yeah, 100% agree with that. In terms of what I know about him, I mean, I've only watched highlight tapes, probably the same as everyone else, because he was playing in the NJCAA. I think that's right. It's like the college league or community college league, I should say, in America. I was reading up recently about what level that actually is, and so you've obviously got NCAA right at the top, and NJCAA seems to be a bit of a feeder league for that. So you have guys that maybe weren't academically strong enough to go to NCAA, and they'll end up there, like, improve their qualifications, and then they can make a step up. So I'm not too concerned about him coming from that level, like a lot of people are, because there could be multiple reasons why. Stylistically, Alphonso Davies, obviously not, and like that. Like you need to like put a fair amount of context around that statement. But obviously he's not as good as him, but he plays like him, like really, really fast. I hope Derek won't mind me saying this, but I was chatting to Derek Martin at an event recently, and I asked him how Tabby was doing, and he said he's absolutely rapid. Like he said during preseason they do all these like speed tests and stuff. Like, you know, the NFL. Do you watch much NFL?
Yeah, I kind of see like they do like the like sprint testing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like he got like a 4-second or something score in this, which is like outrageously fast. Apparently, like NFL wide receiver sort of.
Wow.
Fast. So yeah, he's really fast, but with players like that, you don't know if there's kind of a give and take in terms of how technically strong they are with that. But I haven't seen him play, so I can't really say. But yeah, hopefully he's not just an athlete. Hopefully he has got something about him technically as well. And I went to training the other day actually, and he looked good there. He was whipping them in nicely. Like he's got really nice delivery actually. So yeah, hopefully he does well.
I think Maury Donner showed last year that you can have both. You can have speed and have that technical ability to get a ball into the box or kind of make the right decisions. I think with the way you said that was a feeder league, a lot of students who come from Europe tend to go into that kind of league first before they move up into the NCAA, because it's a way of them getting into the States and getting kind of their foot in the door with visas and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's it's definitely not a league that should be sniffed at, because it is still like the college level, and I think that's where a lot of people are kind of put off just by that little bit of it. But I think I wouldn't read too much into it. And I'm the same as you. Like, I've heard a lot of people saying that he looks good, and I think anything is probably better than trying to put a round peg into a square hole. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what we've been struggling with, where we just don't have that natural outlet. As you said, like a right-footed player just tends to want to come inside because they want to get onto their right foot. And I think it just gives us another attacking option.
Yeah, especially because we normally play right footers on the left wing. So if, say, Aidan Daniels is on the left wing and wants to cut inside, you want a left footer overlapping and like entering that space on the left-hand side. And last season, it's funny you bring up Donor, we were really lopsided towards the right when he played. We always attacked down his side. So it'd be nice to actually have a bit more unpredictability with, is it going to be Fernandez on the right? Or are we going to attack via Tabby on the left as well?
Speaking of Maury Donor, kind of segues in nicely to the next player then. A lot of people have some feelings, I guess, about Maury Donor after last year. I find like the problem is, like, I love the fact that we're like a kind of smaller club and a community club, so like we all feel really a part of it, and we kind of want to know everything that happens and everything that goes on. But also on the flip side of it is a lot of rumors come out, and nothing ever kind of gets confirmed. So it's like somebody heard from somebody that this happened, that happened. So I don't really want to get into too much about the whole Maury Donor thing, but all I can say is that Halifax was always a stepping stone for him. Like, anybody who's ever talked to him, like, I think that had COVID not happened, we would never have seen him in Halifax in the first place. He wanted to play abroad, so like leaving York was always what he wanted to do, and he wanted to go to a higher level. Obviously COVID kind of messed with that, and he took Halifax, so I didn't expect him to stick around for year two. And I think the first 75% of the season he was amazing. He got injured, and then he never seemed to be the same. And I think you had mentioned that when he came back to Halifax and played on grass, he didn't seem as effective, which I could be wrong in saying.
I did, but it was more playing on a smaller pitch. And I tweeted out loads and was trying to get someone to answer my question if our pitch is smaller than the Valor pitch and the forward, because he always looked good in Valor. He looked good in Hamilton as well, and they always, maybe it's a camera angle, but they always seem like much bigger pitches, whereas I don't think he had the space at Wanderers grounds to like really open up his legs and just pump down the line like he was doing before. That's how it seemed to me anyway. I might be off the mark, but
I think that's a fair observation, because I mean, like, you've got like like huge stadiums with like CFL pitches, so they can afford to have it bigger than what we could have. Like we're kind of just stuck at with the one size pretty much at the Wanderers. But so anyway, so he's gone to Monterey Bay and he's doing really well down there. So good luck to him is what I say. You know, people get upset, but you know, that's football. People move on, and you just kind of, you know, thanks for the few memories and away you go, right? So but yeah, so
I think the great lie we all tell ourselves as supporters, as the players, like the club as much as we do. They don't. They it's their job. Yeah. They're here to make a bit of money, and I'm sure they have affection for clubs and stuff, but there's nothing special about us or any club in the world. Like, players just want what's best for their career. So yeah. Fair play.
So Zachary Anders, we kind of know a little bit about him because he played against us in the Canadian Championship. But how do you think his style compares to Maury's? Like, is he that kind of dynamic, burst forward kind of thing, or is he a solid right back who kind of likes to is more of a defensive minded player? Where do you see him kind of playing in the team, and what sort of style does he bring to the Wanderers?
I don't think he's quite as attacking as Donor, but he's not far off. Really good stand-up defender. Like, you don't really see him go to ground and commit himself too much. He stands a winger up, and he's good at like that kind of foot in, like pushes his body forward tackle. But he's really good attacking as well. Like I said, me and Stuart went to watch training the other day, and he scored an absolute beauty at training. Like, ball came across the box, half volley from just on the edge of the 18-yard box. Nice. Yeah, it was a beautiful goal. He looks really good. And we were chatting to someone who watched the Guelph friendly the other day. Not the Guelph friendly. Whoever they played in. Yeah. And he kind of singled out Fernandez as looking good as well. So, but I don't. Do you remember anything about him from the?
No, like being honest with you, like that game, I was more worried about the fact that we might lose to a League One team than the actual game itself. I know, right? So, like, I thought the standard, like, that the whole team actually brought was pretty decent, and I don't know, like, I think we're always at risk of those kind of upset because we don't score a ton of goals. And when you're playing teams like that, if they're hanging on at 1-1 or 1-0 come towards the end of a game, it's like that's how cup magic happens, right? So
I think teams like that now as well, because every single team we've played from League One Ontario or the Quebec League, we've ended up signing players from them. We signed Anone and Duran Lee, and now Fernandez. And I think if you're playing against us for one of those teams, you're thinking, I could get a contract out of this. Like, in fact, I don't know if when them games finish, we literally pick one and go, right, you're coming home with us. Get on the bus. No, you can't say goodbye to your mum and dad. You're coming with us now.
What are you up to next Thursday?
I passport to the game.
I actually asked one of the players that the other night at the event, because I was like, I kind of always wondered, like these preseason games, like if, when the Wanderers are going just because they want to get the tune up and try out a few things, but when they're playing against the lower league teams, if they're like bringing their A game because they want to play well against a CPL team, they feel like they should be there. And they said, yes, definitely. It's like the player said that was very, very difficult. That, like, they're kind of, you're not going full blooded into stuff because obviously you don't get injured for the season, and these guys are like really wanting to showcase their talent. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, some of these games, that you're kind of not taking it at 100% and then they're at 100% and you kind of have to be careful. So but I'm excited to see him. I definitely think that from what I've heard, like, as I said, like, I don't remember that game too well either because I was probably drunk, but it was like just I think having somebody who's, as you said, a stand-up defender and somebody who's got a pretty decent attacking thing, I think it's a good mixture. Because sometimes
he's quite big as well. He's not a small guy, so he offers something on set pieces defensively as well. So yeah.
So to kind of round out, like they announced on Saturday at the event that Colin Gander's coming in, who's a defender as well, I believe, and is left-footed too, I think. So
yeah.
So they announced him. So I think that kind of gives us some nice like cover. I know he's only going to probably be here till August, but it kind of gives us some nice cover on the left side. So have you seen much of? I know he's playing for the Griffiths last year. So where'd you think of him, and what type of player is he?
He looks like everything you in your head you think a left back looks like, it's him. He's really left-footed, very tidy, can put in a nice cross. And yeah, I didn't actually think about that until you just said it, that he'd probably be going back in August, won't he? If he's useful. So I guess Restrepo can cover at the left back as well. So it's not the end of the world. But yeah, he's another one. He came through TFC Academy, like so many players in the league came through. So I like it when they've had that grounding in an academy, because it speaks to a certain level. Like, you don't end up in them places unless you're at a certain level. So he'll be fine. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who actually is our starting left back out of him and Tabby. I think if you look at our whole lineup, there's only a handful of positions where you're not really sure who's going to play there. And I think left back is definitely one of them. I think it could be one of three, Tabby or Gander or Restrepo. And we'll see on Thursday which of them has been better pre-season.
For me, I think it would not just kind of like being thinking with my football head a little bit. Obviously, like, Tabby's going to be here all season, so you kind of want. I think you want to get him like with the ground running and make sure that he's like up to speed with the league. And you kind of, because obviously once August hits, he's going to be pretty much, unless we bring in somebody at that stage to replace Gander, I think we kind of need him starting, to be honest with you, like, just to kind of. So
you'd go Tabby, yeah?
Yeah, I would, and I think then, like, like Gander will obviously get, like, because I think this year is the year when we need to rotate a lot better. And I think that with the nature of the way the bubbles were, that we didn't get that opportunity, and I think we're going to see a lot more. And that's why they've got almost two players in each position, or 3, 4 in some cases. And I think that's where I would do, but I'm not Stephen Hart. So
who would you have as the back five? Like with goalkeeper included, I mean.
Like, I think Basket kind of deserved it on the back of towards the end. Like, he did make some mistakes, and it's going to happen because he's still a young guy, and it's going to, like, it's like, I think it was against Valor. There was like 1 or 2 like goals that maybe. But then on the flip side,
Ottawa, where he kicked it out, and they should have scored in one. Yeah,
there was a couple of like little errors, but that's going to happen because, like, he's brand new and he's still very young. But I would start with him because I think that he earned it right towards the end of the year. So I'd start with him. I'd probably go with Tabby on the left back. Right back, I'd go Fernandez. And then it kind of gets difficult in the middle, but I think that, like, having seen Restrepo last year playing centre back, he's definitely good enough. He was one of our best players until he got injured, so I could see him starting probably alongside Peter.
I like Restrepo centre back as well. Yeah. I think it's kind of assumed that Santos will play there, but Restrepo was brilliant when he was centre back for us, because he can pass out from the back really, really well, which is something we don't do very well normally.
And then obviously, like, Santos, so that, like, if they're going to go with the 2 wing backs and like the 3 centre halves, like Santos as well. The thing with Santos, like last year, he was kind of like a little bit like Akeem, and it's very difficult for me to say this about anybody because of the shape I'm in, but they just didn't look fit. You know what I mean? Like, Akeem didn't look fit the whole year, and Santos didn't look fit. And I think because of the nature of the way the season went, like, they never got a chance to kind of like step back and work on stuff. And like, if you've talked to any of the players, like, they say that in between games there was no fitness stuff or whatever. It was like a couple of like little tactical things in training, and then the next game rolled around. And I think having seen him, like, since he got here, he looks healthier than what he did like last year. He looks like he's taking care of himself in the off season. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I would start. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. The only question is Santos or Restrepo for me as well. I mean, Santos. Yeah, I'm similar to. I think it's more body shape with him rather than being out of shape. I think he's just got quite big thighs, and which makes him look a bit bigger than he probably is. But I didn't quite see enough of him to be completely convinced yet. So I'm interested to see this year if he is.
And I think as well, like, he's another one of those that kind of just got like thrown all over the place. Like, he's not he's not a left back. Like, I like, and he got tossed in at left back, and the same with Jeremy as well, got like thrown in there like last year. And like, you can tell they're not natural fullbacks, so it's very difficult to criticize somebody when you know they're being played out of position. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people were kind of grumbling a little bit at like some of the performances like from Santos, and like I think it was kind of unfair a little bit just because of the fact that he's not. We didn't sign him as a left back, and he's just been asked to do a job to fill in and help out. And I think that sometimes we kind of have to take a step back sometimes and just realize that he's not a left back. He's not going to be. He's not going to be running up and down like Ashley Cole, right? I mean, he's not. That's not the player he is, right? So yeah, it was kind of odd. So, are you a fan of the three at the back, like the three centre halves, or would you prefer to have two with the like full backs, or do you like the like wing backs with the three?
I like two. I like a back four, like two and then two fullbacks. I think the only times Hart played 5 at the back / 3 at the back was against Montreal Impact. Sorry, they're not even called that anymore. FC Montreal, whatever they are now. Forge. So you see kind of like the cogs turning and him saying, okay, these are better than us man for man and technically. So I'm going to play 5 at the back. I'm going to have the wing backs kind of push in a bit so we can really clog up the midfield and force them out wide. I don't think that's how he likes to play generally. So more often than not, we'll play 4 at the back this season. So
I mean, like that's the thing. Like you know, like Restrepo is also a really, really good fullback, and he came in at right back. I think the first year he was here, and he was really
supposed to be at Island Games, and then he ended up just stealing the left back spot off the Carolis.
Yeah, and I think that was just another case of like shoehorn somebody into like, you know, and I feel like a lot of the players, like if you listen to any of the stuff they say, that they're brought in because they're because they can play multiple positions, and we kind of need that, which I agree with, because obviously the squad is small enough. But it's just I just never really a fan of shoehorning people in and then expecting them to work miracles, you know. So I would think if he plays Santos alongside Peter Schale, we might see Restrepo right back on Thursday. And then maybe Fernandez will come on like after. But I definitely think that Restrepo is probably our most consistent fullback that we have right now, and I think he's an amazing player. I really like him, and I think
I love him as well. Yeah.
So you know, just switching back to who we brought in, one of the the big name that we pretty much, apart from the coach obviously, was Aidan Daniels, which was kind of like a little bit out of left field, because I talked to him like last year on the podcast, and he was at OKC, and you know, we talked on that episode about the CPL, and I always kind of felt that like maybe he was the same, where like he's in the USL and players think that they're in America, they're going to get closer to an MLS team. But obviously, like the shit hit the fan in OKC in just before in the off season. So I know that Matt had said that he was coming here regardless, but I think it's a huge signing for us, and I think it's a really good sign too that we're able to attract a player of that caliber. So what will Aidan bring to the team, and more importantly, do you think he can bring goals? Because I think that's why they're bringing him, or to help create goals, I guess.
That interview you did with him was amazing, by the way. I listened to it after we signed him, and I was kind of toying around with the idea of reaching out to him for an interview myself before, and then I listened to that and I was like, there's no stone was left unturned after that interview. Everything I wanted to know was in there. So yeah, people listening, I recommend finding it.
Thanks, buddy.
But yeah, no, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. I don't really know how we got him, to be honest, because I think he is good enough to play for another USL team without a doubt. If you like, and he's one of those. So the good thing about USL players is you can always find the full matches on YouTube, so you don't have to rely on highlight reels. So with him, I had an idea we were signing him, like I think quite a few of us did, and so I watched as much as I could of him before we actually signed him, and I was like genuinely like in the belly excited watching a couple of the games, going, Jesus Christ, how have we got him? He's just brilliant. He can play as a 10, he can play as a left winger, or he can play as a quite attacking 8. Brilliant dribbler, like lovely technique, lovely close control. He's got a long shot on him as well. He tends to, and I wrote about this in a piece I did on the website, like he tends to drift into the left half space. So like that area between the left wing and the centre midfield spot, he likes that little area there. and he likes to kind of pick the ball up there, drive towards goal, look for a little 1-2, or just to like absolutely hammer one towards goal as well. He's really, really good. And in terms of goals, so I think he scored 3 in the past 2 seasons in USL. And that, I think that's a number you can probably extrapolate to 4 or 5 or 6 in the CPL, given the level is a little bit lower. And I think the coaches will probably give him a bit more responsibility as well, and he'll know one of my major jobs for this team is to score goals. So yeah, fantastic signing, and I think he's the player that moves the needle for us the most, to be honest.
Me too. As I said, I was quite surprised that we because I heard a rumor that you might be coming, and like I still talk to him the other time on Instagram, so I sent him a message. I was like, "Oh, what's this about you come to Halifax?" And it was like radio silence. So I was like,
"Did he leave you on red?"
Yeah, no. He's like, he was kind of, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about," kind of thing. And I was just like, "Yeah." And then obviously he came. So, but yeah, I totally agree. And I think when he was playing in the USL, like I don't know what way his manager was, but like he always, like any of the goals you've seen him score, he definitely has a great goal in his locker, and I think that he might have a little bit more freedom within their team to be able to do that too. I think that the team at OKC was very disciplined, and maybe he didn't have that kind of freedom. And I'm hoping that Stephen Hart kind of allows him to have a little bit, because I think it'll take a lot of responsibility off Joe Morelli's shoulders too, because like if you looked at like last year, I thought that Joe was like trying to be everything, you know what I mean? Like because he felt the pressure, because he was the only one that was scoring goals really, and I think that's how he ended up injuring himself, because he's just like trying too hard. He was all over the pitch. You could see he's kind of getting a little bit frustrated sometimes when stuff wasn't coming off for him, or players weren't in the positions he wanted them to be, and I just think it just takes a massive weight off his shoulders. And if he can chip in with a couple of goals, it's even less pressure on him, right? And I think since Joe's been here, he's always had that little spell of when he's injured, he picks up injuries because of the position he plays and the way he plays. Just having somebody who's a more of a natural replacement for him if he does get injured is going to be worth his weight of gold too as well. I think it was a very smart and shrewd signing. So
do you think they can play together pretty well, Morelli and Daniels? Do you think they can?
I definitely think so. I think if like Aiden's kind of, as you mentioned earlier on, he can play like on the left wing. Like if he plays on the wing and Joe's in the middle, like I think they can definitely. I think they're smart enough and they've been around the block enough to know like how to play with players that are similar like that. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of. I don't think it's going to be a Gerrard Lampard situation. I think that they can definitely work it. It just depends then on who's playing up front. I think is also a big one. Like I mean, if I definitely think if Salter's playing because he's that bit taller, it kind of gives them a slightly better option maybe, because they'll have to cross. And as you mentioned, like having a left-footed fullback, like it's going to give us that option for like getting the cross into the box. I think that's somewhere where we struggled like last year, that as you said, we were so lopsided that a lot of our chances were being created from the right side. And I think teams just kind of got wise to it, that like they're like, I think it kind of worked well for us in the first couple of games, and then everybody just like they're watching the game tapes and they know everything from Halifax is going through Maury Donner, and I think that as soon as that kind of got cut off, like we were kind of lost a little bit. So I guess the big question I have for you like is I think that's everybody that's come in, isn't it? We've mentioned everybody, haven't we? I haven't missed anybody.
No, that's everyone. Yeah.
Yep. Because I know that like they said that there might be another signing like this week, so we might see. Is it Campoli that's still kicking around, the U Sports kid?
Yeah, I don't know if he's been signed or not. To be honest, I haven't heard anything, but I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure, because I feel like they'd have announced him and Gander
together. Yeah.
Reveal. Yeah. So, but they're definitely looking for an under-21, because we've only got 2 at the moment. We've got Fernandez and Basket, and you need. I think league rules are you need 3 under-21s. So yeah, we need to bring another body in.
Yeah, so like Derek Martin had mentioned in a tweet, that like I think it was just after the season ended, that the Halifax crowd they really deserve a championship. we deserve a team that scores goals, and they're going to address it in the off season. So I guess the question for you is, do you think they've done enough with who they brought in, and also on the coaching side of it too, to say that Derek has done enough to change? Like, do you think this team is good enough to win a championship? Do you think this team is good enough to score more goals than what we've been capable of?
Yeah, because it's an interesting question, because I wrote about this and I've gone back and forth on whether we needed to sign a striker since the end of last season. And I was absolutely convinced we needed to sign a striker when the season ended. And then I kind of looked at the other teams around us the other teams above us in the league. So Pacific, Cavalry and Forge, and none of them have a player scoring more than 10 goals. They all have players scoring 8, players scoring 9, players scoring 7, and then a lot of other players scoring 3 and 4 and 2s. Once I kind of got my head around, right, we've got Morelli, he scores goals. The mission is to actually add more goals from the rest of the team. So I think the emphasis is more stuff you can coach, or you should be able to coach, which is, I say that, but I don't even know. I saw Hart talking the other day about how the players need more composure in front of goal, and how do you coach that? Like, because you can't recreate that in training, that stressful situation where you've got 6,000 people watching, you've got the ball, you've got the keeper coming towards you. It's impossible to coach that. So how? Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's it's a very good point that you make. That it's very hard to recreate, and I think that's where you hear the phrase like a natural goal scorer. And I honestly don't think that we have that. Like, I don't think Akeem was ever a natural goal scorer. He came along and he was the first season, like he was almost like a winger, and then they kind of moved him inside. And then the Island Games, I think that tournament style really suited us because it suits the way that Stephen Hart likes to play the game, I guess. It really suits Stephen Hart. And then last year was just like an absolute disaster. And I don't think we had anybody. And I look again this year, and I feel the same way. Like, I just feel like, if everybody's praying that Akeem starts off the right way, but if he doesn't, we're dependent on Joe Morelli to pick up the pieces and score 15, 16 goals, which it's going to be difficult. I think the other teams have moved on. That they've obviously added to their squad, and I think the coaches know how to they'll know how to play against us, because we're going to have to try and get everything through Joe again. You know what I mean? I think that's why Aidan Daniels, I think, was a good signing, because it gives us an extra option up front. But I'm just worried about goals again. Like, I definitely think a striker was a must-have for us, because I just think that, like, from the get-go, it's a lot of pressure on Salter and Akeem. And I think Salter last year, he's shown some kind of flashes of what he can do. But I hope to God I'm proved wrong. And I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly, because obviously we're Wanderers fans and we want them to win. But sometimes you have to be a realist too. And I look at what happened in preseason, and you can say we're trying tactics and we're trying this and we're trying that. But preseason is when you want your striker scoring 4 goals, 5 goals in the game to get that sharpness, as you said. That's the closest they're going to get to recreating in the league, right? In the preseason game, and Salter barely scored any. I think he scored a couple against the New Brunswick team, and I think Akeem played 1 game and then he was injured or something. So
to give it the positive side, I do completely understand all of that. But to give it the positive side of it, I have no doubts Morelli's going to score over 10 goals again. That's who he is as a player. He's scored at the same rate for the past 4 or 5 years wherever he's been. So he is a player that will nearly always score over 10 goals. So that's kind of the high scoring player out the way. So then all we need to do is make sure that you've got other players getting 4 goals, 3 goals, 5 goals. I think Daniels is capable of getting 3 or 4 goals. I think Marshall's brilliant, but he's not brilliant. And if he can actually be fit for a whole season, he's capable of scoring 3 or 4 goals. And so I completely get where you're coming from. But I early season optimism. I like to think, right, we've got Morelli scoring 10, we've got Marshall, Ben, Daniel scoring 3 or 4 each, and then very quickly you're at the numbers that we're supposed to be at. So yeah, I do hear you.
I totally agree with you. Like, I mean, I think that like last year, and probably the year before, like Corey Bent was kind of like he's probably like one of our most natural goal scorers, because like if you've ever seen him play for CBU, or if you've even seen him at training, like he's like, it's just second nature to him. And I'm hoping that like we don't see him like last year when he's playing as like a wing back, or and I know, I know like injuries necessitate that kind of stuff, but like that's not where you want to see him. And like he showed what he can do obviously against Montreal, but like I just feel like if he was playing more, like it's kind of hard because obviously he's out in the wing, but like if we started a Keemoff out there, why could we not try and bent inside like a couple of times just to see what he could do? Because like he is a natural goal scorer. He's unbelievable. And if anybody ever gets a chance to go to a Wanderers training session and wants to show their kids how to score goals, just watch Corey Bent for half an hour in a training game. He's incredible. So yeah,
100%. I would love to see him get a go. I think he played up front 1 or 2 games last season, but I'd love to see him actually get a good go at that position, because yeah, I agree. In training, he's banging them in. He's quite a natural finisher, isn't he? Like, he's not someone that seems to panic too much. So,
definitely not. Yeah. And I think that like Jail would be a good player to have behind him, because he's good enough to play those little true balls. And I think that's kind of what we missed last year too, is that we didn't have, apart from like because Jail was usually in this goal scoring positions, we didn't have somebody in behind who could like just play a true ball, because I feel like a lot of our midfielders are so similar. Like Rampersad, like Polisi, like they're all really good ball winners, but a lot of the times we were just going side to side because we didn't have anybody that could just play that pass in, just ping it in for somebody to run onto and like cause them trouble. And I think if hopefully that's where Aidan Daniels will come in too, that if Jail's pushed on, you'll have somebody that can come in and play that kind of ball, because I think that's, apart from depending on one person for goals, I just think that we didn't have that person that could just create something out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it's the $1 million thing to have, but I just don't. I just feel like our midfield, like our central midfielders, are probably some of the best in the league, but they just don't have that in their locker. I could be wrong. You could disagree with me, but that's kind of
where I do agree, and I honestly think if there was a striker out there that offered that, they'd have signed him. But I think every team like I was saying, like no team had a player that scored more than 10 goals last season. So every team in the league is looking for that player. So you've kind of got to strike gold like we did with Morelli. He's the anomaly. He's the big anomaly in the league. That player doesn't really exist anywhere else. So and that's why I think the emphasis needs to be on, instead of using all of your scouting resources, just trying desperately to find this player somewhere, instead focus on, right, how can we build a system where other players can chip in with a lot more goals as well. And hopefully that's what they've been doing with bringing in someone like Dorado, who his big thing, isn't it? Like, I heard his interview with you, like he was saying he likes coaching attacking football and pan play, and I guess that's the hope. Someone like him coming in. So along with Garcia can't be as bad as last year, he has to be better. Salter's going to be another year older, Marshall, Bent, etc. More goals from them. That plus a former Real Madrid coach, a former Rafa Benitez assistant, like that's got to help.
I guess my last question, I kind of mentioned to this just to have it ready, so I know it's a lot of pressure, but what's your rankings for I
wrote this down before answering this one.
I love it, buddy. And your tip for first is going to win the whole thing, the North Star Shield.
All right, this is my left field theory. So I'm going to say 2 sentences and they completely contradict each other.
Love it.
Cavalry are the weakest they've been in the history of the CPL. Cavalry will win the championship.
I love it.
And what I think is going to happen, because they're always like pretty much the best team, aren't they? But they don't quite win it. And they remind me a bit of, do you remember when Chelsea won the Champions League in 2012? And they'd been brilliant for 7 years. And then in 2012, dog shit. They were terrible, weren't they? Roberto Di Matteo came in, but they had enough kind of wily old pros to, even though they couldn't consistently do well across a whole league season, they knew how to do it in like the one-off sort of games, and they won the Champions League. And I think it's going to be that again. I think Forge Pacific are going to run away with the league, and then Cavalry are just going to do enough to sneak into the playoffs, and then kind of defensive masterclass with Klomp and Yao, and just do enough to win it, even though they definitely aren't the best team. And I kind of hope they do. I like Tommy Walden Jr. I think he's really great character to have in the league, and I think Cavalry has been good enough over the past 3 years to deserve the championship. So yeah, Cavalry not looking good all year, and then winning the championship is what I think is going to happen.
Love it. I definitely think that Tommy's brand of football it's really good to watch. When I'm like, if I'm a neutral and I want to watch like a game, and like I kind of want Cavalry to be involved, because 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a good game and it's good quality football. So did you actually do like a ranking of 8 teams, or where do you think they're going to end, or do you just come over the champion?
No, I did. Yeah. Do you want to?
Okay, let's do it, buddy.
Have you got yours afterwards as well?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
So I reckon Forge will win it. Pacific second, Cavalry third, Halifax fourth, Ottawa fifth, Valor sixth, York seventh, and it's obvious, but Edmonton eighth is what I think. I think Forge and Pacific are going to finish quite a way ahead of everyone else, and Cavalry, Halifax, and Ottawa are just going to be scrapping out for that last place in the playoffs.
I think as well. I think Forge will be the season winners. I don't think they'll win the whole thing again. So I've got them first in the league season, and then I think Cavalry will be second. Actually, I think Pacific have made so many changes in the off season that it's going to be very difficult to replicate what they did, because they lost key coaching and they've lost key players. So I think they probably won't be as strong as what they were. So I've got to put them in third. I went with the Wanderers in fourth, just because I'm ruling my heart there rather than my head. Fifth, I think York will probably run us close again. I think they've signed some really good players, and they had a couple of players that they couldn't bring in like last year and the year before because of COVID, and they've got them in this year. So I just want to hear William Wallace's name being
Brazilian as well. It's ridiculous Brazilian name.
I love it. Then Valor sixth. I think Ottawa have done quite a lot, but I still think they have a way to go, and they've also got a new coaching as well, which is going to be a big change for them too. And then Edmonton. I kind of hope that Edmonton don't finish last, just because whoever does finish last, and please God, don't make it be Halifax, just so everybody can just kind of like have a giggle at them, because like, you know, like they're not expected to do anything, but I think they've kind of been clever in how they've kind of recruited. Like they brought in a couple of players from last year that I think they managed to get them back in on loan, which I think was good. And the 3 guys we sent them, we didn't even mention them, because as far as I could see from the press releases and stuff like that, they were scouted, but it seems to me, by Edmonton, and then we just signed them. So I think it's like one of those that we're just hoping one of them comes good and we just sign them for next year, because it's like it's a free season, I think. So
win-win. It's win-win for us, isn't it?
Yeah. So my overall, I think I agree with you, man. I think Cavalry, this is their year. Yeah, I think they do. I think like if they can keep Joe Mason fit, I honestly think that he's probably the best striker in the league. Like obviously, like he did well like that, but then he got injured again towards the end of the season. I think they missed him, so I think they can keep him fit. And they brought back Klomp, and they brought back which I thought was huge for them. Like I did, 2 of them were great last year. So
they're brilliant. Yeah, Klomp's such a good ball playing centre half. I love him.
And I think they were clever in who they brought in too. Like they brought in Ben Fisk, who I think was a great signing for them, and they brought him back again this year. Like I just wish that we were capable of like bringing guys in like that sometimes, you know. Like I feel like our recruitment mid-season isn't always the greatest. Like I think that last year, like we brought players in to fill gaps in the squad rather than for them to enhance what we had, because I don't think Kamara was any better than what we had. And
Or Portal as well. I didn't think much of, to be honest.
Yeah, they did a job, fair play to them, but I just don't think they I thought Kamara was the goal that it was against. Who was it? Was that against York?
Remember the 3-0, yeah. How
did he miss it? How he missed it? I would be running for the hills and just with embarrassment. But hey,
so he misses an open goal and then it kind of it didn't hit someone then go in.
Yeah, so I think he hit the bar with his header and then it hit off Abzi. And went in, and I thought he was I thought he was going to run into the crowd at one stage, man. I was like, Jesus Christ! But I talked to Jordan Wilson about that game, man, and from the York side, it was they said it was unbelievable. So yeah, man. So I must say I'm looking forward to the season. Where can people? You've done 2 amazing blog posts already about the squad this year. Man, you've got such a great way with words. It's you're so funny. I your description of Polisi was incredible. Like the PlayStation. It's exactly what he is. Real, does he? He looks like something out of Grand Theft Auto or something. Like he owns a nightclub in Grand Theft Auto. So
when the graphics haven't been quite good enough for it to look real and furry, and it just looks fluffy. Yeah, he looks like a PlayStation character.
So where can people find your blog posts, and do you have more on the way? And is this podcast coming back this year? I heard rumblings, so I'm just
so the blog is at FromAways.com, and on Twitter I am at FromAwaysHFX, I think, or there might not be a HFX at the end. I'm not sure. The podcast we talk. The guy who used to do it with Shep. We've talked about it on and off. I bumped into him in Garrison Oxford Tap Room on Quimple the other day, and we chatted again quickly there about doing it, but we haven't actually arranged it yet, so who knows. If we do it, it'll probably be like a after match recap every week. So if the game's on the Sunday, the Monday or the Tuesday, just like an hour talking about the game and then previewing the next game, and that's it. So hopefully, but yeah, I'm not sure when.
If it doesn't work, you're always welcome back on this show.
I'd love to, mate. Yeah, we can just do that instead.
Yeah, exactly. Just call him out. Or we can just send it over to him just to edit the audio.
I've finally been allowed on the show. I'm not letting go. I'm here now. I'm just going to turn up to your next interview.
I hope it was all that you hope for.
Yeah, more and more.
All right, buddy. Have a great night, and
Folks, please. Right foot, please. Time to drink up, folks. Get out. Out to folks.